Hello and welcome back. If you're new around here, I make videos about living with a 40-item wardrobe as well as some home decluttering. And today I want to share my sort of minimalism goals, or more specifically, goals that I've set for myself in my home as they relate to minimalism. I have been decluttering my house for a couple of years. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I'm right in the middle of another 30-day minimalism game or challenge, whatever you want to call it. So I am starting to achieve some of my goals. I can see light at the end of the tunnel. So I thought now would be a good opportunity to share some of my minimalist home goals. Before I jump into the goals, there are two things I want to sort of get out of the way. And one is that minimalism is a mindset, and it can have some really profound, personal, almost spiritual level impact on each of our lives. And that is great. But the goals that I've set for myself and what I want to share with you today are much less philosophical. And I think that's fine. Everyone's goals are different, and mine are what they are for me. The other thing I want to mention is that I tried to be very specific with my goals. Of course, I want my home to be enjoyable and relaxing and all sorts of good things, but I tried to dig a little bit deeper and get to something a little more specific that would still help me to achieve that end anyway. So without further ado, these are my top 10 minimalist home goals. My first goal is to get rid of silent to-do items. In the book, Goodbye Things, the author talks about a concept of a silent to-do list, which is something that our possessions sort of impose on us. Because our possessions require maintenance and general taking care of, they can be a source of sort of this nagging feeling in the back of our minds when we aren't using them and we're not maintaining them and we're just generally ignoring them. So one of the things I want to do is get rid of items that I'm not using so they can't continue to give me this nagging feeling in the back of my mind. I don't want to open up a closet and just be reminded oh, those things that I still haven't dealt with. So one of the things that I hope to achieve through minimalism is getting rid of those silent to-do items. My second goal is to make my home and possessions easier to clean and maintain. This is a really easy one. When I have fewer items, it's easier to maintain the things I have. And I've noticed that when my home isn't constantly cluttered, it's logistically easier to keep my house clean because I don't have to tidy up first in order to be able to clean in the first place. Now, this is a goal that's already starting to come to fruition, but I'm sure it will only become easier as I continue to downsize my possessions. Number 3, make tasks easier to perform. Now, this is another no-brainer, but the fewer items I have, the more likely I am to know what I have, know where it lives, and be able to access it so I can complete whatever task is at hand, be that cleaning or cooking or packing for a trip. Minimalism house goal number 4, be ready for guests at any moment. Until very recently, whenever somebody would come over to my house, I would immediately go into this frenzied cleaning, tidying, panic mode in order to make my house presentable. But now that I've decluttered my home, it's a lot easier to accommodate guests. I don't have to move things around in order for overnight guests to have a place to sleep and put their things. And because I'm more likely to be able to clean my house now, I don't have to bust out the vacuum every time somebody's going to come over. Now, I wouldn't say that I have 100% achieved this goal, but it is much easier to deal with now. Number 5, I want all rooms and spaces to have clearly defined functions. I want every room in my house to have a role, have a function, and not sort of become a catch-all for other things that are outside of that function. Now, my guest room has historically been the challenging space in my home. It's part guest room, part office, and because it doesn't have a clear identity of its own, it's also become this sort of catch-all space for other items that don't really have a home. But through decluttering, it's become a lot easier to make sure that everything that I own does have a home, so that doesn't continue happening. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm 100% there yet with this goal either, but I'm working on it. Goal number 6. I want to rely on the space I have and not too much on organizational products or tools. So a few months ago, I had this idea that I wanted to renovate a whole bunch of closets in my house. I had plenty of closet space, but it wasn't really optimized for what I wanted to store in it. So I wanted to remove bars and add shelves and all sorts of things so that my closets could hold all of the items from a particular category. But the more I've decluttered, the more I've noticed that those renovations are really unnecessary. Something Marie Kondo talks about in her books is letting our spaces tell us how much they can hold and not relying heavily on organizational products. A lot of organizational products or tools can really enable us to keep a lot more things than we need. So I've tried to take this to heart, and I think it's really true. And the more I've decluttered, the more I've come to want to let my space tell me how much it can comfortably hold and not rely too much on organizational products. Goal number 7, I want to be aware of all of my possessions. Now this kind of ties back to the first point of the silent to-do items, but I want to know what things I have. It sounds really simple, but I can't do that right now. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm at a store wondering, do I have a colander, or do I have Guess toothbrushes, or do I have bathroom caulk, and then I end up buying more because I can't remember if I had that item in the first place. And I don't want to open up a closet and think like, oh yeah, all those art supplies, I forgot I had those. I should probably do something with them. So to me, I want to have a healthy awareness of everything that I own. And if I can't remember that I own it, it probably means I don't need it. Minimalist home goal number 8. I want to have the right possessions for my lifestyle. This is a goal that I've achieved in some areas, but not yet in others. So the other day, somebody left a comment on my recent shoe decluttering video asking if I really don't own heels or dress shoes. And the answer is, no, I don't own heels or dress shoes because those shoes don't work for my lifestyle. On the other hand, we have like 4 sleeping bags because I haven't quite convinced my husband that we, 2 people, don't need 4 sleeping bags, even though we haven't been camping in years. So there are some areas where I've actually achieved it and others where I need to keep working on it. But we could have a conversation about fantasy self items, and I think there are pros and cons to keeping them. I don't really want to get into that here, but me personally, I've decided that for myself, I want my possessions to actually match my lifestyle. Goal number 9. I want to save money by not continuing to purchase things that I won't use. Every time I declutter something, I learn a little lesson about what things I want and need and use, and I want those lessons to stick with me so I don't continue to make those mistakes in the future. In the 2 years I've been decluttering stuff, I've easily gotten rid of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Like that's a nice vacation's worth of stuff. And so I want to be more mindful in the future about what purchases I make and what things I decide to bring into my home. And I want them to be things that I'm actually going to use because I don't want to keep throwing away vacations. My 10th and final home goal is that I want my home to still feel like a home. Now, this goal is a little bit different than the others, but I think it's worth calling out because there's sort of a limit to how much I'm willing to declutter. As much as I love watching YouTube videos of other people who have downsized to vans, I have no intention of leaving my house, and I want my home to be comfortable for me and my husband and our cat, so I'm not getting rid of our furniture, I'm not getting rid of gadgets that we actually use that make our lives easier, and I'm not getting rid of all personal touches that sort of help to make our home feel like our home. Now, I don't think I'm in any danger of crossing that line anytime soon, but I still think it's worth mentioning that I want my home to feel homely and like a place you can't sort of too easily mess up. All right, those are my top 10 minimalist home goals, or the top 10 ways that I hope the practice of minimalism can make an impact on my home. At the end of the day, my house is for me and my husband and our cat, and so I want our home to be optimized for us and our lifestyle, and everyone's life is different, so you probably have your own goals for how you want minimalism to impact your life and your home. And if you don't already have your own goals, then I hope hearing some of mine can help inspire you and help you to figure out what's important to you so you can shape goals of your own. That's it for me today. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.